Hi everyone, Jim here. Welcome to my channel. Well, it's we're partway through Private Eye July, and yeah, it's time for me to do a Private Eye update. I haven't been reading as much as I'd like, to be honest. I've read a few books, and I'm going to show them to you. I'll go through them. I won't do an in-depth synopsis of them. I'll just show you what I've been reading and talk about them a little bit and my thoughts on them. Yeah, I've been watching everybody's Private Eye July videos, and they've been fantastic. I'm so happy everybody's involved. So for those who don't know, Private Eye July is just the month to celebrate reading private eye fiction, and there's two prompts. I mean, they're just easy prompts. Read a private eye book, that was written between the 20s and the 60s up to 1970. And the second prompt is to read a private eye story from the 70s onward to modern day. And that pretty much encapsulates the traditional private eye and the modern private eye. And that was my thought when I came up with them, and I just wanted to keep it easy. But to be honest, all you really have to do is read a private eye book. It doesn't matter where it's from or who the character is. It's just a fun opportunity to read some private eye books. So I'm going to go through with you what I've been reading. 3 books, and I started on a 4th just the other day. But the first one I read was Act of Fear by Michael Collins. Now, Michael Collins is a pseudonym of the writer Dennis Lins, and this features his character Dan Fortune, a private investigator from Chelsea, New York. And there's 14 books in the series and over 20 short stories. Now, the character, I think, started out in New York, but I think in the later books he ended up moving to another city, and I forget the city offhand. I should know that, but he wasn't always in New York, but he was born and bred in New York. This is where this one takes place, in the neighborhood of Chelsea, and he has an interesting insight into Chelsea. He says anybody who's from Chelsea knows what Chelsea is and what that means to people, but outsiders, Chelsea would just be another part of New York. But Chelsea is a very distinct local community that anybody who's not from there wouldn't understand. So I thought that was interesting. But he's a one-armed private investigator, and he lost his arm when he was a youth, when a friend of his and himself were robbing a ship that was at dock. And he ended up falling somehow, and he broke his left arm in numerous places, and he had to get it cut off. But his thought on it is that, he's actually lucky because he's right-handed, and it was his left arm that he lost. So there's good in everything if you look at it the right way, and that's his outlook on life. And he likes the impression I get of the character is he likes to believe in people. Believe in the best of people, and most PI stories that I read are kind of like that, because they have to hold on to that hope that the world isn't a bad place, that good will overcome evil, but maybe it just needs a little help along the way, and that's what the private eye's job is. And I like that about this character. He reminds me a lot of Lou Archer from the Ross MacDonald books, and he's kind of along the same lines as that kind of private investigator, and I really like that, and I really enjoyed this book, and I'd like to get the rest of them. As I said, I only have 3 of them, and I've read a lot of the short stories, but very, very good. And as in any private eye story, he tries to get to the truth, and of course, there's, people along the way who don't want him to get to that truth, and there's some twists and turns along the way, but, very, very satisfying, really good book, very highly recommended. Now, the next book I read was Halo and Blood by Howard Brown, writing as John Evans, and he makes no bones about it. In this book, he's trying to emulate Raymond Chandler. And he even told Raymond Chandler as much when he met him face to face. But the character in this is Paul Pine, and he's a Chicago private investigator in 1946. And it's very he's a better plotter than Chandler was. And in many ways in this book and later books, he out-Chandlers Chandler in some ways. But there was almost too much plot, and it got bogged down a little bit about 2/3 of the way through and slowed down a little bit. Whereas in Chandler's case, he wouldn't have tried to bog down the story and plot. He just would have, moved it forward in another exciting way. But not that it was a bad book. I actually really enjoyed this. This was the first one in the series, so I want to read the rest of them to see how it progresses. Apparently, the fourth novel in the series, A Taste for Ashes, is just like the epitome of a private eye novel. And I don't have that one, and that's one I very dearly want to pick up. And all these stories and the short story and an incomplete novel were collected in an omnibus book by, I forget the name of the publishers now, but it's called Halo for Hire. And it was a hardcover. I think it's probably still available. Might be a little dear, a little steep. But every story that Howard Brown wrote of Paul Pine appears in that omnibus volume. And I'll try to show it up here. But yeah, really good book. I did enjoy that. I'm having such a good time this month, actually, reading all this PI stuff. After I read Halo and Blood, I read March Violets by Philip Kerr. And that's a Bernie Gunther novel. He's the PI in the book. And that was very kindly sent to me by Steve Donoghue. He sent me the first 14, or I guess all 14 of the books in digital editions. So I had to restrain myself once I finished March Violets from just, starting to read the second one right away. I had to pull myself back. Such a good book, set in Berlin in 1936. Which at the time was a fascist-controlled, country. Germany was controlled by Hitler at the time, and some of the passages and some of the things that go on in the book are a little chilling, to be honest. And as I said, I won't get into it here, into the synopsis or anything like that, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'll show the cover here. Very, very good book. I'd really like to get physical copies to put up on my shelf. I don't think they came out in mass market paperback, though. I think they were probably trade paperback size, but I'll have to look into it. But yeah, he's such a great character, Bernie Gunther. A typical hard-boiled private eye, but it's in Berlin, which is a little surreal to me, being used to the environments of Los Angeles or New York City. But it works. It works really well, and the plot was just wonderfully done, and very, very satisfying read. So that's, yeah. I mean, if anybody has those and haven't read them yet, or they want to pick them up, pick those up. Very, very good, at least from, judging from the first book that I read. The next one I'll be reading, or I've started to read, is Sue Grafton's Kinsey Milone series, E is for Evidence. Now, in my introduction video, I said I was going to read K is for Killer, but it turns out that I had read that one back in 2023, because as I started to read it, it seemed very familiar to me. So I checked my Goodreads, which I never update, but it did tell me that I had read that one back in 2023, and that's probably a good reason to update my Goodreads, and I should probably do that. But anyway, I'm reading this, starting to read this, and I love these. Sue Grafton is great, and I want to get the whole series. I want to read them through. Such great books, such a great writer, and it's a shame she didn't live to finish the entire series, the entire alphabet. But yeah, and I'll let you know what I thought of that one in my next update video. And I know Roy, I think in one of his videos, he's doing awesome videos. I mean, his private eye videos are just like second to none. They're so good. I think he said he was going to feature some private eye comics, and we were talking on Voxer, and I brought up this one Detectives Incorporated. Now, I don't know if he's going to pick it up or not. I think he was going to do Nathaniel Dusk, which was a series that was put out by DC Comics, and that was written by Don McGregor, who wrote this series. This was written by Don McGregor with art by Marshall Rogers, and this features two private eye partners, Ted Denning and Bob Rainier, and this is a little rough in spots. It was done in 1980, but the art's very detailed. Great artwork by Marshall Rogers. A little of the storytelling is a little rough to follow, and some of it's really dark, like printed on the page is very dark, so it's a little hard to follow, but very detailed, and just such an awesome story. Actually, very forward for the time. It deals with a lady who was run down, and she's hired by, or they're hired by a friend of the woman who was killed. And it's a whole thing, but it's very enjoyable. And if you can get your hands on this, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It was a comic book series by Eclipse Comics. I think probably 4 issues collected into this, and this is the first printing of it as a graphic novel. And I think they had a sequel to it, which I don't have. That was again written by Don McGregor, but it had art by Gene Colan. So I'm going to have to look into getting maybe a collected trade paperback of that. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about. I just wanted to update everybody and let you know what I've been reading. And I know it's been overdue. I should have done an update a week ago. But I hope everybody's enjoying their Private Eye July, and I hope you're reading lots of Private Eye stuff. So until next time, I will talk to you soon. You take care. And keep reading.